Thank you, Chrissy. Thanks to the organisers and the sponsors for giving us the opportunity to have a chat. Certainly a bit of a change of pace. Cosmo is a discovery company. We're in the process of looking for gold, antimony and copper in a project portfolio that straddles Australia. So as you can see on this slide, multi-commodity project portfolio, a bit like the previous presenter, gold where the gold is, we're fishing where the fish are. So we're on projects where we know there is mineral endowment, there's gold that's been produced, copper that's been produced. So we're looking to prove up some of those historical areas and turn them into economic deposits. Limited in time, so I'll just touch on our Kanowna Gold project here just outside of Kalgoorlie, as Chrissy said, and then I will do a little bit of a talk about the Bingra project over in New South Wales. So Kanowna we're really excited about. It's been in the portfolio for a couple of years now. We did some drilling back in mid-24 and we've got an EIS funding grant to go and put a 400 metre deep hole in there, so we're going to be moving on to that very quickly. And then we've got a large portfolio over in New South Wales. So two projects covering 743 square kilometres. So say gold, antimony, copper prospectivity in that part of the world. With the capital raising that we're in the midst of, we're planning a very active exploration period of time, so we're really getting into that, and we'll talk a bit more about that. And we've got the team and now the funding in place to advance that. So diving straight into Kanowna. So Kanowna, as I say, sits just outside Kalgoorlie. You can see on the slide, it's about 2 kilometres from Kanowna Belle. It's about 13 kilometres from the super pit. You can see from that slide, the image is a grid of the downhole, maximum downhole gold from a whole series of air core holes that have been drilled through there. So all the blue dots are all the drilling that's happened in that part of the world, and you go, well, that's already been tested, so what are you doing out there? The next slide looks at 100 metres vertical. So once you slice that down, the vast majority of drilling that's been completed out at Kanowna has been very, very shallow. It's come up with some really, really nice hits. So you've got the hits sitting up there at Don Alvaro, which are really sensational intersections. But we've also got this whole prospectivity. We've got a 2 kilometre trend sitting down at the Adda area. All that downhole, maximum downhole gold that's literally had no drilling below 100 metres. The drilling that we did back in 24 certainly intersected some really interesting broad anomalous gold, and there was a previous bottom of hole air core intersection. Really that hasn't been followed up, so we're really keen to get into that and follow that up. But I guess one of the really big drivers, I'm not sure how easily that's come out, but the yellow circle there around Laguna Verde, that's where we've got WA government EIS funding to complete a 400 metre deep hole. We're working on a concept that the structure that comes past the Kanowna Belle and the Velvet deposit comes through into our ground at Laguna Verde. Previous drilling has certainly hit some really nice intersections there, but it hasn't really tested the target. So this 400 metre deep hole is really designed to test that concept. Now, whilst we're there, as I say, we're going to do some RC drilling at the Adda target. We're looking at probably 500 or 600 metres to test that trend, and that program, we'll be looking to get underway in the second quarter of this year. So basically, close the entitlements issue, and we're looking to be out there drilling very, very quickly. Over to New South Wales, as I say, gold, antimony and copper. We've had historic production from these areas dating back to the mid-1800s through the mid-1900s. It's in the southern portion of the New England origin, which is a prolific origin of particularly gold production, all the way up the coast into towards Townsville up in Queensland, some really, really large deposits. The southern part of that, the New South Wales part of that, has sort of missed out so far. We've got Hillgrove, which is going really nicely as a gold antimony deposit, 1.7 million ounces equivalent, but there hasn't really been those really big discoveries in that southern part. So we're looking to change that. We've got 40 kilometres of strike of historic goldfields. Down at our Nundle project, that produced something like 300,000 ounces from the mid-1800s to the mid-1900s. So again, we know there's gold in the system. It's a matter of us getting in there and doing the exploration to really define that. We've certainly got some antimony prospectivity in the area as well, and given, I guess, the relative proximity to Hillgrove, that's a really exciting target for us. And we've got really some significant copper gold targets on both of our projects, both Bingra and Nundle. I'm only going to talk today around Bingra. So Bingra sits about 150 kilometres north of Tamworth. It straddles the Peel Fault, so it's a really great place, really great architecture for the mineralisation coming through. We've got the Bingra Goldfield, which is about 30 kilometre long Bingra Goldfield. Within that, there's an area of 12 kilometres, which is we've named the Star of Bingra. It's a lone hand trend, 12 kilometres that's got around about 1,200 historic workings. So the LiDAR survey we did last year, the interp of that has identified around about 1,200 historic pits and shafts along that trend. The only place that had been drilled previously was in that red circle. So Spring Creek, that sits right in the middle of that 12 kilometres, it had something like 45 holes with an average depth in the 30 metres. So very, very lightly drilled. We actually went out there in October last year and did our first drill program up there. First drilling that had been done at Bingra for something like 30 years. We had a really nice early hit with 6 metres at just under 10 grams per tonne from a very, very shallow. So really exciting about that. But really importantly, it's that full 12 kilometres of strike that we're excited about, looking at what else is there within that trend. Then we've also got a VMS trend within our Bingra project. So about 20 kilometres strike with 6 historic VMS mines were mined at the turn of last century, so early 1900s up to the First World War. We've focused our activity so far on a 4 kilometre portion of that, the Mount Everest to Mona trend. We completed a SAM survey early last year, so we've got some really good magnetic data out of that. And then late last year, we completed a detailed geochem program across there, and that's really picked up a couple of really interesting new targets out of that. The Victory Lode, which has got up to 0.1% copper in soils, and then the east of Mount Everest itself, where we've picked up up to 0.2% peak copper in soil within that anomaly. So it's an area that's had very, very little modern exploration. It's never been drilled, and something that we're really actively working towards getting into drill ready. And then lastly, for Bingra, we've got Antimony Gully. So an 8 kilometre trend of historic antimony mines that, again, has had no modern exploration at all. And we're really keen to get in there and start doing the geochem and building up some targets on Antimony Gully. So quick snapshot, but there's a lot of activity going on in that part of the world for us. So our estimated work program with the capital raise on foot, we're really keen to get out there and get active. So we'll be drilling Kanowna, as I say, in the next couple of months. The work plan is to do everything to get something ready to be drilling out at Mount Everest Mona. So we're looking sort of Q3 of this year. We want to be drilling on the copper targets. And as you can see, there's a whole lot of work that's involved in getting to both of those things happening. So a very, very active exploration program heading into the back end of this year. Very noisy slide. I don't really expect you to be able to read all of that, but I guess for us as a micro cap, we're looking at a position where we're now well funded. Post the capital raising, we'll have $1.9 million available to get out there and do our exploration, and we've got compelling leverage to discovery. Based on the issue price for the entitlements issue, we'll have a market cap under $6 million. So very, very, as I say, great leverage to exploration success, and we're going to be out there doing the work to deliver on that. So to, I guess, sum it all up, we've got multiple large-scale, multi-commodity targets. We've got near-term drilling on our gold target at Kanowna, and who knows, we might just tap into the top of another Kanowna bell. We've got the first lot of exploration that's ever been completed at Bingra certainly in this century, since the 80s and 90s. So some really exciting opportunities we're developing up there. We've got this opportunity to rediscover where the old timers have been mining sort of 100, 150 years ago. And we believe we've got a fantastic re-rate potential and as I say, great leverage to exploration success. So please come and see us at booth 66 out the back. We'll have a beer and talk a bit more about some of these projects. Thanks very much.